One of my home team members had a question the other day mentioning that he caught in our Baron J67 video, where mostly Baron and I were talking about VR and what's the future we think for that, where I mentioned kind of offhand that most of my socializing happens fully online. Most of my hanging out with others, talking, connecting with others happens completely digitally. And so one of my members had some questions about that. Even though obviously our focus on home team is mostly game development, I wanted to share what I could to help this. And of course, this might apply, I know, some of you out there too. So a couple things I want to acknowledge right off the bat. One, hopefully goes without saying, but A, I'm not a therapist, not a psychologist, not trying to tell anyone how these things work in terms of, I know for a lot of people, it can help and make a meaningful difference to have some sort of local connection in your lives. And so I don't mean to suggest that this should be a full substitute for, in the way that maybe it has been disproportionately for me compared to others, but that it is still worth finding a way to make meet your neighbors if you can, go to some local meetups if you can, to not be satisfied with only online, even if, and again, I know maybe, I don't want to sound hypocritical, most of my connections are online except for immediate local family, and I do know my neighbors, I talk to my neighbors, that kind of thing, so just want to lay that out there. Because there are things, obviously, like online people will never be a substitute for, I don't know, you need help moving something, no one online is going to help you do that, right? You need borrow something from the grocery you missed, you need a neighbor for that. You're going to, I don't know, if your place is getting fumigated for bugs, you need a couch to crash on, once again, your online friends can't help you. So it's worth knowing that there are things that aren't replaceable. Now, that said, there is also upsides to it, and obviously there's downsides to IRL as well. So some of the upsides I've had from online friends over the years is that maybe the biggest one being, because we are not geographically bound, our friendship isn't based on the fact we happen to be in the same place at the same time at that point in our lives. When my life or their life, work, personal or otherwise, has caused us to have reasons to relocate, we stayed friends, right? We already weren't local. It wasn't based on the fact that we were next door neighbors or in the same dorm or down the street or whatever at the same local meetups. It was just because we were already friends and we stayed connected. Now, the ways I meet people who are online friends of mine, a few different ways. In a few cases, it's just IRL connections from 20 years ago. People I knew in high school, people I knew in college who I've stayed in touch with off and on. Sometimes a little more off, sometimes a little more on. That's just the nature of time and communication with people. There's other folks who I've met truly, purely through, for example, Twitter. As we started as strangers, then as mutuals, then as realizing we had some friends in common. Enough interacting, engaging between each other, and just sort of likes and replies or whatever to kind of have enough just sense to the other person that then when there was some point, some reason to direct message the other one, it didn't seem totally out of the blue. And now I want to acknowledge too, there's something where obviously, I know this can get complicated where some people feel like there's like a parasocial relationship thing going on. You want to be careful about that, obviously. To recognize no one owes you a response if you're ever messaging somebody who you don't know. I occasionally get messages I honestly don't respond to either, and it's a matter of sometimes massive age differences, sometimes just things where there's something about the vibe of you just don't know if you want to have a one-on-one, and that can be true either direction. So just to be aware, right, this is the nature of navigating online relationships and friendships. But that said, this is also true for people you meet IRL. Honestly, it's been it's a long-time challenge of high school and college and going out to networking events and meetups and parties and whatever, is always trying to feel out, does this person want to be talking to me? Am I annoying them? Am I bothering them? Are they happy we're here? And it, or got some imposter syndrome, some doubts, and that's just social. That's just social living, right? That's the nature of that. To realize that that's not removed from online. It's a bit like when I've run online events, and we realize that in online events there's a risk of trolls or something. Well, okay. In fact, in an online event, you can kick trolls out easier than an IRL event, where kicking a troll out might involve getting a bar bouncer or someone who's physically a little more intimidating to push someone out and make sure they stay out. There's things about that too. If there's some reason why you get a bad vibe, they get a bad vibe, you just feel like you don't want to be in contact, again, you can mute, you can block, you can do those things. And I don't need to make those things careless, or just to say the challenges that are happening online, realize some of those same challenges happen digitally as well, or happen offline as well. In some cases, just playing games is a thing that we've done. Met some people say in VR chat or in various other online games, you can talk to each other, play enough other games with each other, and eventually kind of have enough rapport there. Now, the thing that's mostly, though, been my connection to other people, and this has been true for so many years of my life, it's honestly part of why I keep starting new game development groups like I did in 2004, 2010, 2015, the ones I'm still running now. Cumulatively, between the three, have released 500 games. That's 175 out of my current home team groups. Is because, first and foremost, what I find helps me connect to people who are my online friends. The way I maintain those relationships, the way I keep in contact with people, is doing stuff together, making things, building projects together. Now, it doesn't have to be just games. right? So like literally the Baron video that Baron and I did, that was just us doing a little project together. The art panel that Julia and I arranged. Julia's in Canada. I've never met Julia in person. I may never meet Julia in person. We did an art panel, got 5 people together. One of the people on the panel I met once in IRL at a games event. But honestly, that's it. And it was still doing a thing together. But tackling a project together helps us just kind of look out for each other, helps us kind of advance one another's interests, gives us something to focus on. There's this common thing about how we socialize and communicate, where often it's helpful to have a thing that is not just each other. It can be a little intense to be across the table from somebody else or just sitting on a Zoom call trying to awkwardly come up with what to say. That's much easier if instead you're both looking at the same, it's like when people hang out on a couch watching a game on TV or go to a theater and watch a movie, or hell, when they sit and eat a meal and they're eating the same meal. It's a case where you have something else to focus on while you're also present with each other. And honestly, projects serve a function for that, just like playing games online together can do. It gives us something else where I can have your back by supporting you on a task, where I can tell that it's going to help you out to have somebody else looking at this piece of something, where my connections combined with your connections can be better somehow. And so, for example, have my podcast, which I've now been doing for, I think we have over 200 episodes. It's been going since summer 2015, but honestly, for me, it's been partly a way to maintain my online, digital, worldwide connections and friendships. And it started with some people who I already knew and increasingly expanded beyond that to people who I'd only, again, maybe Twitter acquaintances with or found through some other similar network, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Friends of friends, got them on the show, chance to have a conversation, feel like we get to know a little more about each other. And it was just something to do to kind of keep connected. I know a lot of people out there who they run a podcast together. For them, it's partly a version of something else to do, another way to stay in touch, including when one of them moves. Their work, their life, their personal situation, their career, who knows, they got to take care of an elderly family member, something happens where they got to relocate. They can stay friends, they can stay doing a thing together on a regular rhythm of once a month, once a week, whatever the tasting is for that podcast, they can do it. Now, all this said, it is also possible that maybe that's like a level you don't want to jump to yet. When I used to do orientation counselor stuff in college, we would focus on there's kind of these icebreaker events, and there's a level of tiers to this where, when on day one, you don't want people doing a human knot or something that feels like that's too much for total strangers yet. You want to start with names, right? You want to start with some pretty basic stuff, and you kind of work your way up a little bit to sharing more information to the degree people are comfortable with. And building up that comfort, building up that trust, that repertoire, that sense that this is a human being who I understand something about and vice versa. And so other things I've done with people too is just, for example, if you find there's an online event that interests you, an online meetup, a Zoom, for example. I go to Zooms elsewhere. I've been hanging out in the Atlanta Zoom for months and months, maybe a year or more, every single time because I like those people. I haven't lived in Atlanta in over 10 years. I go to the Atlanta Zoom Hangouts. There's ones I've been to in New York City and in Seattle and Chicago, and you can just find those things online. Many of them are still either happening from COVID times or people figured out that they worked better for them. They had too much traffic and parking and so on. So you find those hangouts, hang out in those. It's one way to connect with people. But an interesting way to find people, again, that can be a thing where it's something you can do together with your online friends. You can sort of tag up, team up together. I have a buddy. When there were some online events and conferences, what I would do is I'd find a friend who was also interested in the same topics. And just like you might go to a show together or go to an event or in-person conference together, you can totally arrange to say, let's both go to this online event. Give us something to talk about. We can both check out maybe different talks or panels or workshop groups or something going on. Trade notes afterwards. It makes it a better experience. And again, it's something to do. And in many ways, I think we see things through a better lens. We're looking at it partly from, not just serving our own interests and needs, but other things coming up that are going to be able to help my buddy here by sharing some information with him afterwards. But then one of the other ways I want us to acknowledge this is helpful is that for not only you can stay friends, you can maintain your personal life if there's relocating on either person's side. It can actually be good for your career too, because one of the things that happens in people's career situations is that they are unwilling or unable to relocate for something that would be great for their career, maybe even paid relocation, or just where the kind of business that they need to do, they know it's happening there, but not really happening where they're at. A lot of people feel tied to where they're at because they feel like they have to start over. They're going to lose their friends if they relocate. Everyone they know happens to be in the same town. If they move, they're not going to have anybody. And it can be a huge factor, even just having a few people who are online, who are your friends elsewhere, who, when you relocate, you might have to start back over with rebuilding some local connections. But you still can have some online friends who were your friends before, who will be your friends after. That's been immensely helpful for me going across the country from first Atlanta to Boston, or from Atlanta to LA, then LA to Boston area. That's been helpful to me. So it's a thing that can, again, free up career opportunities for you potentially, versus if 100% of people you know are IRL, there is that pressure. There is that sense of roots. There is that challenge to like, it'd be a great opportunity and long-term a good investment for me and be the right moves to help me achieve my career goals. But now I can make this trade-off between totally start over. If you develop some online friendships, it can again be additional connections you maintain through those sort of moves. And then lastly, I want to give a quick plug. One of the things that I've seen happen over the years has become important to how I run all of my game development groups, how I do all of my projects, and when I do the podcast episodes, when I work with people on making videos together, I always plan it out a little bit. And it's not a super intense plan. It's just enough to make sure it's going to finish. Because what happens is, if you start a thing with somebody and you don't finish it, it's kind of like if you start a thing alone and you don't finish it, it's discouraging. It hurts your morale. If you start a project with somebody and you don't finish it, I mean, they're not going to hold it against you. Certainly not consciously, but what ends up happening is just get kind of a vibe of like, well, you feel like you failed somehow. And it's harder to reconnect with a person because it feels like if you're reconnecting, you both have to kind of deal with the discomfort of, we kind of dropped the ball and we were trying to do a podcast together, trying to do a video together, we were trying to do a game together and it just didn't go. It's tough. And so, but part of why it's been so important to me to help people finish their projects, to release their things, to be able to say, it's going to come out June 15th. It's going to be out December 11th or whatever. They can pick a date. They can make a thing happen by then. I've documented that approach in my new course, CompleteEveryProject.com. So URL is going to redirect you to me. If you get it really soon, should be a pretty steep discount on it still. And again, I want to stress this is not just me out there trying to hawk wares or try to sell something or try to make some cash. It is genuinely because I want to help you. It's because I'm not some store clerk selling somebody else's thing. I design these things because they help people. This is based on the practices I've been teaching genuinely for decades now because it's helped people finish their projects. And because it literally covers examples of using like YouTube video, podcast, launching a podcast, making games as a team. It walks through the pretty minimal process so you can be equipped with the ways of thinking to help you finish and see those things through. So you'll have the confidence that if you suggest to a friend, let's do a podcast together, let's do a YouTube series together, let's do an interview together, let's, build a video game together or something, you'll have concrete techniques and tools to give you the confidence you're going to be able to see it through and not have to worry about, are we getting in way over our heads? Are we not going to be able to handle this? Is it going to fizzle out like the last time? I hate seeing people quit because they get discouraged over that kind of thing. I want to help set you up for success in that. And genuinely, I'm suggesting this because it is something that has helped me immensely over the years in my connection to other people. Even it's a little bit like growing up, even though I kind of joke I had like the social skills of a pigeon. I could still connect with people when I was playing co-op games because I could, you have lower health, you should get the pizza, or I got your back, or I'm supporting you on your flag run or something. And that way to be able to support each other is just a way to show friendship, to maintain connection to somebody, to be on the same side. And I've seen building games together, doing online projects together, making podcasts together, doing videos together. It's another way to connect to people at a next level where we're really kind of expressing more of ourselves, bringing more of ourselves to the table. We're making active choices about what we want to express, what we're trying to do, who we're trying to become. And I love that. And I want that for more people. I want that for you. And so that's why I've got this course at an accessible price point. But if you get it soon, it's at an even more accessible price point because there should be a discount while it's pretty new out there. So CompleteEveryProject.com. I hope it helps you out. I hope it's a fit for you. But if nothing else, obviously plenty of people in the world have found other ways to make friends online, to maintain connections online. And again, I hope no one gets the wrong end. I'm not trying to say replace all your IRL friends with online friends. Not at all what I'm about. What I am just trying to suggest is, like I said, it can be beneficial to have a balance, to have a mix. It's the modern world. It's not 1950s anymore. It is perfectly valid. And there are people I've worked with for, let me think for a second, 8 years who I've never met in person and probably never will. But I trust them as much as anybody I've ever met in person, right? There's friends I've had for, again, probably 10, 13 years. Never met in person, probably never will. Doesn't matter. It's no less real because I haven't been in the same room as them or haven't, don't know exactly how tall they are. But that doesn't matter, right? It's like a phone conversation, still a conversation with a person. It's also true whether you're on a Zoom, whether you're just chatting through text. That's all a part of us. And I think that one of the things I like about building things together with people, doing projects together, really going beyond those to a next level, is that I think you really get to know a person more and better in a deeper way when you see what they want to create, how they want to do it, how they navigate the challenges and the choices involved in doing stuff. And so, like I said, my video with Baron, totally just for fun, a way to catch up with a friend. To my video with Julia, help some other people, I hope, through that art panel. But honestly, it was just a chance for like me to also meet some of Julia's friends and vice versa, in addition to us hanging out and having a thing to focus and working on together. So I hope you go do some stuff, make some things, whether or not you use my materials at CompleteEveryProject.com or find your own way of doing it. Go out there, make some new online friends, maintain your online friendships. Recognize again, while yes, there's some pros and cons, it's also true for IRL friends too. maintain a balance and to not discount it because you've never been in the same room. Who cares? I've got great friends who I talk to almost daily who I've seen IRL minutes total, if ever, in some cases never. Shouldn't matter. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for following along. Again, I hope you find the course helpful at nope. That's my old URL. CompleteEveryProject.com. Check it out. I hope it's going to help you out. Catch you next time.